Hi, it's Reba from Team Reba again, and we're under contract with you, and this time we're talking about title insurance. So it's in your contract, and we've probably talked about it earlier when we gave you an estimated seller net proceeds, but let's give you a little bit better definition of what title insurance really is. So in the state of Washington, we're an escrow state, and one of the ways that we have the safety of transferring the ownership in real estate is title insurance. When you sell, there's different forms of deeds for transferring, and in the most traditional, there's what's called a statutory warranty deed. Now, for a title company to insure that deed, what they end up doing is they create an insurance policy that has a number of different elements inside. And what the title insurance company does during the transaction is they go back and they research way back to the very beginning of the ownership of that parcel to make sure that everything has been basically copacetic on the ownership throughout. Because the insurance policy itself, different than having a hazard policy, which is for fire or a tree falling on your house, something that you renew every year. A title policy is only paid for one time, and that's at the title transfer at closing. And that insurance policy stays with the house for the whole time that person owns it. So you as the seller buy the policy for the benefit of the buyer. The buyer, if they're using financing, buys a policy for their lender because the lender has a financial interest in the house. That policy covers the ownership all the way back. So there's a number of different ways that people are selling. Sometimes it's an estate sale. They want to have insurance that there's not going to be a claim by somebody trying to say, hey, I was someone who was supposed to be a beneficiary, and they make a claim against the house. Or let's say someone's divorcing. Maybe there's a claim after the fact for something like that because they find out something was done incorrectly in court and things get changed and the ownership is now in question. Or maybe somebody put up a fence but they didn't notate or get a survey done, and so maybe that fence is in the wrong place, or maybe a shed was put where it wasn't supposed to go. So that policy is there to ensure for the buyer that if someone comes after the fact and makes some type of claim, they have a way to handle it. And it gives you peace of mind so you can sell and move along onto the next part of your life. So it's a good thing to have. One other thing about the escrow fee, whereas your title insurance policy, the seller pays for directly and the buyer pays for their lender directly through the closing process, the escrow fee is split. So there's one fee for the escrow process divided evenly among the buyer and the seller. So you'll each have the same fee on your side of the transaction. The title insurance policy is slightly higher on the seller side because you're paying for the value of the property as it's being sold. The buyer's fee structure is based on the loan amount. So those will be slightly different. You may not actually see what their cost structures are, but we're just giving you an idea what happens during the process. What you do need to know about the title policy is that it doesn't update just once. You're gonna see it come through several times, most likely in your email. And here's what we're looking for specifically. One, we're looking to see if there's easement information that's changed. We need to check to make sure that there's not contractors putting liens against your property. They're probably gonna have you sign an affidavit of identity, because I'll take, for example, myself. My name's Rebecca Hass, and there are at least 8 other Rebecca Hasses that I know of just in the United States. And so when I buy property, I have to fill one of those out because they have to get my social security number to make sure it's not one of the other Rebeccas who's buying the house. Because I can tell you, one of them has really bad credit. And every once in a while I get phone calls about her. And so things I probably shouldn't know, but I do. So when you're selling a house, what ends up happening is they're looking. So I'll give you other examples. We've had clients who a DSHS has shown up from Department of Social Services because somebody owed child support. We've had IRS tax liens show up. So we're looking for these things because for you to be able to transfer the ownership, the title of the property, it has to be clear title and not have what they call clouds on title. So we're making sure that none of that is occurring throughout. Every time they do a check, they're going to send a new copy of what the thing is. And if there is a concern, they also then will eradicate that if they clear that item from the title. So we're constantly getting an update throughout. We're also checking to make sure that the loan amount that the lender is doing for the buyer is showing up correctly. We're also making sure that the names as they are on the contract are showing up correctly, because sometimes there's typos. So there's a number of different things going on behind the scenes that you don't have to handle personally, but that we're paying attention to make sure that your transaction goes smoothly from start to finish. And if you have any other questions about the title process, we always encourage you to contact us directly, either myself or our transaction coordinator, or even better, if there's some questions that are beyond our capacity to answer, talking directly to the title company, because that's what they're there for. So thanks very much for working with us here at Team Reba.